Okay, in this video, I am going to point out the algorithmic nature of price movement. This happens to be American Airlines stock. This is a daily chart, and you can see all this up and down price action. And essentially, in the most simplest of terms, the algorithms are looking to do two things. They're looking to either take out pockets of liquidity, and those are typically below these pivot areas or above these pivot areas that you see on the chart, and then they're looking to rebalance some inefficient price movement. And those are typically gaps. So, if price is coming down here, you can see this on the daily chart. This little area in here is a gap. You can see the way at some point it comes up and fills those in. It balances out price movement. So essentially, I just want to go on that basis that price is only looking to do those two things at all times, and that's really what's moving prices. It has nothing to do with buying and selling pressure. It has nothing to do with technical analysis, and frankly, for the most part, not even fundamental analysis. So let's just kind of go through the chart, and I'll give you a quick explanation. Let's look here. This is August. All the way through the current period here into February. I'll kind of go through it sequentially. This is a daily chart. What I might refer to in a moment for moments is this weekly chart here that shows you kind of the weekly up and down from August through the current time in February, and even the monthly chart for a second. I might refer to that because that's when all the time frames are in alignment. That's how you kind of know where price might be trying to go. So anyway, let's just go very quickly. So when price is here in August heading down, you can see that at the moment, if I went to the weekly chart right here, I'll keep clicking on it. You can see it's red and moving lower, and the monthly chart is too. So at this point here in August, you're trying, the odds are you look back on the chart, you see liquidity kind of down here. You see some liquidity down here and here. These are areas where price could be moving until proven otherwise. So what does price do? It comes down and it eventually takes out this liquidity right in here. Okay, so now, and if you notice on the way down, before it went down, it started down, then it kind of came back. It filled in this little area of inefficient pricing, gap area. It came up here first, and then it moved down. So, at the time, the weekly and monthly charts were still red. So you still, that was an area to fill in before it took out liquidity. Anyway, so it comes down to liquidity. Now you want to determine, okay, we've taken out this liquidity. What's next? You can see the obvious buy liquidities are back up in here, and some, we might get to that at some point. And you can see the next, level of liquidity is down here. So where are we going to go? Well, when we watch the chart at this point, and I'm kind of watching it, and we see we come up, and the weekly chart right in here turns green at the moment. And so I'm looking at the monthly chart. That's also turning green just for a second here at the time. So what does price do from this point here in, after taking out this liquidity, it comes up and it takes out this liquidity right here. Okay, so you can see it moved around. It took out this area right here. Is it going to go up to this area? Well, it would have, but the weekly, and this is what I can show you, the weekly chart right in here. Let me get to it. Yeah, it turns red again, and the monthly chart turns red. So that means we're likely heading lower and not continuing up to that area. And that's where we take out this liquidity, and ultimately we take out this liquidity. And again, as we're coming down here, are we going to continue lower? It's possible because we broadened out down here. That's exhaustion risk, but are we going to now continue even to lower areas on the chart? And I'd have to go way back. Let's see where that is on the monthly chart. If I go way back, it's a couple of years, it's way down here. Now, the only way that would happen again is if the weekly and monthly charts continue to stay red because you're at exhaustion risk. And what happens right in here, I'll point it out, this is where you get a big green change on the weekly and a big green change on the monthly chart right in here. And that means we're likely heading up again. So where do you head? You head up kind of to this area right in here, and you take that out. Now along the way, again, there are going to be little pullbacks. If I look closely, I'd have to find, potential gaps in play. Not necessarily, I don't always see them. They might not always be clear, but even along the way, as you're heading up there, you could sweep down and take out little pieces of liquidity here first, and then you kind of continue up to your main target where it's heading. Now, when it heads up here, again, the weekly chart at this point, it's been green, green, green all the way up. It finally turns down, and that's a sign you might be heading lower up here. So when you're up in here and heading lower, where's the first liquidity? Right in here. So obviously, it eventually takes that out, and then it pauses. Are we going to come down to this next area? First of all, you can see here this little pullback. I could see a little gap right in here that pulls back. It's trying to go down there, and it never makes it. And then eventually, this is a kind of a key area right here where you get that green reversal, weekly chart up, brand new month in January, and boom, now you're heading higher again. So no longer, you're not really looking for this, time frame to be taken out, this liquidity back here. It now it reverts back to this liquidity right up here. We come and take that out. That obviously continues, and we take that out, and now we're at a point of certain kind of exhaustion risk up here. Are we going to hold or continue higher towards higher levels on the chart? And now higher levels on the chart, since we took out this whole area, is way up here. And you can see first we came down and we just filled in a gap in here, and now we're continuing higher. The weekly chart is still, by the way, this weekly red chart here turned red, but the monthly chart was still green. This was the end of January. You can see here January never turned red. And then when we opened up in February, we were green at the moment. So right now the buys are still to the upside. Since we held this gap area, that filled in some inefficient pricing. We're heading higher. We expect this to be taken out. This is the first little area of new liquidity. There are bigger targets if you go back on the chart, kind of up here, if everything wants to expand. And that's basically the game. I mean, I'm trying to just keep it very simple, that you're looking at all times of where liquidity exists. You're looking at the continuity of the monthly, weekly, and daily charts, and you're looking at, there are other times where you're looking at inefficient pricing areas where price either is going to come back to and hold there and continue along the way, or if it doesn't hold in that area, then, likely it rebalanced that area and is continuing higher to another area, as long as the bigger time frame charts are pointing that way. So I just thought I'd make that video just showing the very basics, and you can go through any chart, and a lot of times it's very clear what's happening. But all this price action here, for example, for American Airlines, you see it chopping around for 6 months at a time. All it's really doing is kind of moving to certain areas that where, like I said, to either take out buy side or sell side liquidity, or balance out some inefficient pricing areas. And that's what it's doing. And then when you look at the continuity of the daily chart, the weekly chart, and the monthly chart, that kind of tells you what direction you're likely to head next until things change.